Your everyday awakening is right in front of you. Will you choose it? Helping us with this question is in this episode is an integrative spiritual consultant, ordained minister, and now first-time author of a new book, Everyday Awakening. Welcome to the show, Katrin. How are you doing?
Thank you for having me on this show. Great to meet you, and I'm doing well. Thank you.
Thank you so much. Great to finally meet you also. And thank you so much for writing your book, Everyday Awakening. And I'm looking forward to, diving into it with you in this episode. But before we go into all of that, I know everything has a beginning. Everything has, its source, its inspiration. And that's why I would love to learn from your story. While preparing for this conversation and while reading about you, sorry for stalking you. um, I learned about your two near death experiences. So I would like to learn from that. Like, how did these experiences transform your life?
Well, I grew up very quickly, starting when I was a child. When I was 10 years old, turning 11, I was suddenly very ill and taken to the hospital. And not long after, they discovered that I had a very, very rare childhood cancer. And the doctors had told my parents, they didn't tell me because I was so little, but that I had a 20% chance to live.
Mm.
I started really intensive chemotherapy and radiation and surgeries. And this was back in the 70s. And back in the 70s, they did have chaplains. No one talked to me. My mother was, and she's still alive, I'd say very religious. And she would say, you're going to be fine. But there was no sense of reality of what was happening to me. And that's what I just all of a sudden had this deep feeling in my being that I was on the edge of life and death. I was walking on a tightrope, and I had this feeling come through me like I didn't want to die. I wanted to live. And I started to pray, and prayer just cracked me open. Not long after praying to live to be 20, this feeling of peace just poured through my body, and it was just like and it just a knowing I wasn't alone, a knowing I was going to live, a knowing I was going to be okay. And I didn't tell anyone, but it just was so comforting to me. And that really started me on the journey of choosing life and what does it mean to be alive through to this day.
Oh, that's great. And I'm so happy that you're a survivor. You push through and you're living. You're living your life. Yes. What does it mean to choose life? Like from what you said earlier. Thanks so much for sharing. You talked about choosing life, and I'm like, wow, what does it actually mean to choose life?
Well, I think that's a great question. I keep living into that question. What does it mean? I think I think every day we can really open into, not move out of our busy ego mind, our mind that wants to run our life, and come in, drop into our heart, our soul, to feel like, oh, here I am in the moment. When you come into the moment, you can feel the sense of peace and joy and aliveness, of like, oh, here I am, and living fully from your whole essence, from your being, from that sense of presence and oneness. I think that's what it means to choose life. And every one of us is choosing every moment how we're living. Are we living even awareness? Are you living in your mind all day? Can you take breaks and have moments of just presence and awe, wonder, feeling into just now? And every one of us, we're choosing that through each day. So I kind of say, are you choosing to be here, to open, to grow, or are you not, and or subconsciously choosing not, and just kind of, I'd say, on autopilot, living on autopilot.
I like that. Being in the present, choosing to be in the present means, choosing life, choosing to live. Yeah.
Mhm.
And that's why I like the title of your book, Everyday Awakening, because it's something that's continuous. It's something you have to do every day. You don't have to be awakened just once in your life, but every day. Every time you wake up in the morning, you have to choose to be awakened. Yeah. And when people when people pick up the book and look at the title, Everyday Awakening, how do you want them to understand awakening? Like, what does awakening mean to you?
I want people, if seeing my book, to be drawn in, like, huh, what does that mean?
Mm,
To be awake, to be alive, maybe spark some curiosity, open a door, a wondering, a like, how do I live? What does that mean?
mm,
Again, because I think every one of us, oh, it's such a choice to realize that we're not our thoughts, we're not our feelings, we're that witnessing presence, that essence behind that. And can you feel it? Can you open into it? That our eternal nature, feel it and feel into it, breathe into it, and experience what's there for every one of us. So I'm hoping my book might be an opening, a catalyst of like, a spark of like, yeah, how am I living? How do I want to live today, tomorrow?
yes, yes. And I believe that's also the inspiration behind the book, right? To help people go on that path of choosing the right life for them. Or is there any other thing that
Mhm.
inspired you writing the book? Yeah. Mm,
I work in I for years was a chaplain for our level 1 trauma hospital, Hennepin County Medical Center. Then I was a chaplain for our hospice, Fairview Hospice, for years. And I tell you, I would experience with people that were at the edge, they're about to die, that they were just many people within a day, days of this. There was just all of a sudden a realization like, oh, this is life. This is what it feels like to be alive. And
yeah.
then like, and then they would die. And I just, from my personal experience, for hundreds of people I've been with, my message is you don't have to wait. You don't have to wait till you're in crisis. You don't have to wait until you're at the end of your life. You can choose it right now. And in my book, I have 42 exercises: how to come into the moment, how to feel into your heart, how to feel into flow. And again, these are just practices, and these are practices that I do every day.
Wow. Oh, that's awesome.
Mhm.
I'm so curious. Like, can you tell us some of these practices already? Like, I love to learn some of these practices that could help us to remain in the flow and stay in the present or in the moment.
How about I'll share just a couple of my favorite,
Okay.
because I have many. uh, one of them is actually a breath exercise. There's so many ways to teach breathing. It can be deep belly breathing, alternate nostril breathing, square breathing. There's so many different ways. My favorite way of teaching breathing is just coming into the moment, feeling your breath, feeling the coolness of the air coming in over your nostrils, the warmth as you breathe out, and then breathing in. Can you just imagine, peaceful energy coming in through the top of your head, your neck, your shoulders, your chest, your abdomen, your hips, your legs, your knees, and breathing out any stress, any unrest. And if your mind wanders, it's okay. Just come back, breathing in peace, breathing out any stress, and do that for a minute or two. Brings you into your body.
Mm,
It's so calming. And so this is an exercise I'll do in the middle of the night if I wake up, breathing in peace, breathing out stress, or I breathe in love, breathe out fear. That's one of my favorites. I love working with my senses. So just like everyone else, I sometimes all of a sudden get caught in my mind. I'm like, woo, my mind wants to go way over here. What if and how and wow, all of a sudden you get in this loop.
yeah.
I catch it and I come back. So it's a practice of being in the moment, practicing moments of presence, but it's also a practice of catching yourself, because every one of us does this. Our mind can take over. Like all of a sudden you're in the future, the past, the what if, to come back again into this moment. And one way I like to do this is with your senses. So for a minute, can you just notice, what do you see for a minute?
Mm, yeah.
Then for a minute, what do you hear? Then what do you smell? Then what do you taste? And then touching with sensation. And doing that, even if it's on a walk or you're sitting down, it just again brings you back into this moment. It's just a tool, an exercise to create some mindful moments of presence. And I'll share one more. It's a self-soothing. You put your hands over your chest area. I've done this for years, called self-soothing practice, and
Mm.
just feel the warmth of your hands on your chest. And breathe in and breathe out. And let your body just relax and soften. And then you could add a loving kindness phrase. May I be at peace. Or if you believe in something beyond, give me peace, and just breathe. And do this for a minute or two. So soothing, so calming, helps just bring you back into the moment, into just the essence of who we are right now, right here in this moment.
Oh, thank you so much, Katrin, for sharing that. That was amazing. I was practicing as you were instructing, and I was like, yeah, if one intentionally does this, it could go a long way in helping one to be in the present, to bring one's
Mhm.
mind
Mm.
to center you back to the present.
Yep. And it can become your anchor. It's just, again, what are you choosing? Do you decide, oh, I'm going to spend most of my day in my mind? And of course, we use our mind for planning and organizing and work. But then can you take breaks and have moments of presence where that can be your anchor?
Mm.
Because once you start to feel what that sense of being here now, that bigger breath, that spaciousness, that sense of flow, it's like, oh, I mean, for me, I crave it. So all day long, I'm mindful between praying, talking to God, feeling my breath, where I can feel very quickly when I'm not in alignment.
Mm. And once you notice, oh, I'm not being in alignment, then you quickly go back to your anchor and get aligned again. Yes. Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah. One thing I love about your book, Everyday Awakening, is that it integrates the best of spirituality, neuroscience, psychology, and therapy. And these are different aspects of life that sometimes are very difficult to bring together. And your book does that. Basically, spirituality and science sometimes could go different ways or different directions. So I would like us to take it one by one. We'll start with spirituality. I would like to know what spirituality means to you.
I like to share the definition, what my definition of what I think spirituality is versus religion. And I'm an ordained minister,
Mm.
and I've studied this in great depth. I think of first religion as more man-made doctrine, dogma, how you practice within a particular faith tradition. I think I really like the word spirituality. I think it's very expansive, and I just about what gives you meaning. And it's going to be different. Every person hearing this right now, it might be different for every person. It might be what gives you meaning. Someone might name it God. Someone might name it source. Some might name it energy, true nature, Allah, Brahman. I mean, it's just like there's such an, infinite field of possibility. I have just learned over many, many years of working with people in a spiritual context and private practice and as a chaplain. I think language is limiting. So can there just be an openness of what is it for you? How do you come into the moment and feel that sense of oneness in your being, that energy, that flow where we are energy? Can you feel into it? Can you feel the flow?
Mm.
That's who we are. And be open to how and what words might resonate with you.
Yes, I like that. I mean, independent of the rules, independent of everything that man has written down as what we are meant to do as regulations, being centered and being one with God, with the universe, with whatever you believe in is spirituality.
Mhm.
Be one with yourself and being in love, because God is love actually. So being love yourself means you're connected to God, to the source of
Mhm.
everything. And that means you're spiritual.
Yep. Yep. I think our essence is love. I just,
Yes.
I think why we're here on this earth is to love, really open our hearts and souls and love deeply and learn to love in the difficult, challenging times. And I think what we bring with us when we die, I think death is not an end. And I think we bring with us our ability to love and how much we've learned to love on this earth.
Yes, everything is love.
Mhm.
Our essence is love.
Everything.
Everything is love. I mean, if
Love,
that's
I like that, love or fear. I mean, where are you? What are you choosing?
Yeah, I think that's a question that we are meant to ask ourselves whenever we want to make a decision. Does this mean love? Does this breed love? Does this show love? And if it doesn't show love, then that's not the right decision. If it
Yep.
doesn't show that I love myself or I love my neighbor, then it's not the right thing for me to do.
Yep. And oh, can it be that be so challenging? Of course, if we're all of a sudden with a family member or a friend or a colleague or someone who, maybe isn't nice to us or is in fact mean or says something that's hurtful, to just, okay, not that you have to stay there and take that, but like, okay, how do you resolve that within yourself so you don't carry angst and bitterness and
Mm,
continue to live in the light of love? It's a choice.
yeah, it's very difficult, like you said, but it's a choice that we have to take to live a good life. I would say. Yeah.
Yes.
Yes. And would you say, for earlier you talked about, breath work, and we practice that a little bit. Would you say that is also the same thing as meditation, or it's a way of meditating also?
Yeah, I think it's a way of practicing coming back to the present moment, it through our breath, through guided meditation. We could do it through walking. There's just so many ways, tools to practice present moment. I think of the breath as one because our body is always in the present moment.
Mm,
So focusing on our breath, I find, can be an easy one. Just even feeling the breath coming in. And I like to share even like, putting your hands on your lower abdomen.
mm,
And when you breathe in, your lower abdomen naturally expands on the in breath and
yeah.
recedes on the out breath, just like dropping you in.
Mm,
Another one I like to share is right now while we're talking,
mm,
can you for a moment feel the energy moving in your hands? Just feel your fingers, see what's there. Just can you feel your fingers, your hands,
yeah.
whatever's there?
Mm,
And when you do that, you can't think at the same time. Again, it brings you down into your body.
mm,
So there's many different ways to practice mindfulness, it's meditating, it's breathing, it's moving your body, it's body movements, it's
mm,
toning, using our voice. They're just, wow, I teach a lot of different ways. And in my book, I share again those exercises. Try this angle, try this. I mean, 'cause I want everyone to like, what is it for you? And I find this in my private practice. I might have a client in the morning who breath work really speaks to them. And in the
mm,
afternoon, it's a meditation. And then another client, it might be using our voice and our, toning using our voice. It might be moving our body. There's many ways to come into this moment, into our body, into our essence.
yeah. Thanks so much for sharing that. Let's put in a quick plug to your book. Where's the best place for us to get your book? For those who are now eager to order it right now, right now, right now.
So yeah, it's called Everyday Awakening, 5 practices for living fully, feeling deeply, coming into your heart and soul. So I'm on Amazon, I'm on Barnes and Noble, I'm on Target, I'm all over. So um depending on what city you're in, because I've had book signings, Minneapolis, Chicago, I'm going to New York City this afternoon. So I'm had different Barnes and Nobles, my books in, but for sure Amazon, they already sell 70 some percent of all books in the US,
Yeah.
but absolutely, you can Google it and you'll find it.
Awesome. So the link to your website will be in the show notes of this episode. So I encourage everyone out there to right now just pause this episode, go to the show notes of this episode, click on it on the link, copy the link, and order your copy right now before we continue. Yeah. So that's awesome. Thank you so much for sharing that. I would like us to talk about then the next thing, which is neuroscience. And I would just like to learn. I'm just curious to know how we could rewire our brains. Like that's something I've been hearing about, watching videos about, but I would like to learn from you directly, Katrin.
This is a topic I've been so interested for years, and I've been studying neural plasticity. and certified in some models and just really studying the breadth of models that are out there. Here's what's so fascinating. It used to be thought that our brains were set, that, we're born, our brains were set. Well, now we know that's not the case. What we think, what we feel in our environment is shaping our brain all day, every day, until the moment we die. So our brains are plastic. And what's so exciting is when you really understand that, you can get behind, I can change my brain structure. So I'll just give you an example. And I'm sure everyone on this hearing this right now, every one of us have had moments where we worry or we're having fear or we're anxious. And what happens when that, which is a normal behavior, but what happens is when you keep worrying, you keep being fearful, you get in what's called almost a limbic loop. It keeps getting stronger and stronger and stronger. And then that day, the next day, the next day, it's like a grooved pathway in our brain that is, creating these negative neural pathways. So every model I've studied, here are the 4 steps. I'll just give them to you. The 4 steps of how to rewire your brain. And this is from every model, including I've studied with Rick Hansen and his model and Judson Brewer, all these different people. DNRS. So here it is. Number 1, can you identify that negative thought, worry, fear? So I'm going to give you a hypothetical example. So let's say I have a lot of siblings. Let's say a sister of mine said something not nice a couple days ago, and I'm ruminating about it and having a lot of emotions about it. Number 1, can you name what that worry or rumination, fearful thought is? So I would say, oh, my sister, that's it. That's what's happening. When you can name that thought, feeling that's continually going on in you, it starts to calm your nervous system. Number 2, can you identify the feeling? And this is not always easy. It's hard sometimes to what am I feeling? So can you be curious? Hold curiosity. When you're curious, you're in a calm parasympathetic state. I think I would say I'm anxious. So when you can just try to name the feeling, it starts to calm your nervous system. Number 3, can you feel the feeling just for a short time? And I'll tell you, the plethora of books I've read and studied, and I've been studying this for years, the pathway to healing is feeling your feelings. But can you just feel it for a little bit? Just feel into that feeling. Maybe it might be helpful to notice, where do you feel it? I feel it in my chest. Wherever you feel it for a few minutes. And I promise you, it will start to dissipate. It will not control you. It will start to lessen. It will drop. And then the 4th step is, like Rick Hansen says, growing the good. A positive affirmation. I love, like Louise Hay's work. I've studied my whole life. Here's an affirmation. In this moment, I'm okay. I'm strong. I'm resilient. So positive affirmation, it can be a positive image. So for me, I go to my 5-year-old dog, Bella, who's this white puffy dog. And when I think of Bella, I can just feel the warmth in my heart. I'm like, so it's just marinating in that positive energy. Because when you do that, that creates strong, new, positive neural pathways in your brain. You are literally rewiring your brain.
Wow.
And there's other models I could share. Rick Hansen's model, HEAL, HEAL, having a positive experience. Can you go into what was a positive experience in the moment or a past experience, enriching it, like remembering all the different pieces around it and absorbing it, just taking it in and marinating in that positive to create those strong, positive neural pathways. And then the L stands for linking, which you don't always have to do, but you hold that positive image, memory, thought, feeling in the front of your brain, and you hold whatever was upsetting you in the back, and it will start to dissipate that negative pathway. I mean,
Yeah.
these are literally the steps to rewire your brain.
Yeah. Those are very practical steps, especially naming your feelings or your emotions and then feeling the feelings. That's something I'm going to take home from this episode. Feeling those feelings, sitting with it
Yep.
and really connecting with it, know where you feel it in your body, and then
Yep. And
yeah.
emotions, they're not permanent. So if we can just feel them, and I know, I'm sure I've thought this over the years, of course, like, why would I want to feel that when I can
Mm,
distract myself or put on music or do something to not feel it? But when you can feel it for a little bit, I promise you, it drops. It will not control you. You'll just have more, oh, more breathing room.
more breathing room. That sounds amazing. Yes. And,
Hmm.
what does and what role does therapy play in all of this? In processing our emotions, our feelings, our past experiences. What's the importance of therapy in all of this?
With the work I do with in my private practice with clients, therapy, I integrate talk therapy, but it's talk therapy with experientials. So because I think in life it's not just talking, but how can I then feel like we're talking about right now? How can I feel into the moment? How can I feel into my heart? How can I feel, what's even going on with inside myself? But
Mm,
I find with clients that I work with, family of origin, how we learn attachment styles as a child, how we were raised, really imprints who we are today. And until you have that awareness, I always say with people, it's growing that awareness muscle, understanding, getting clarity of why you might behave a certain way, or what is your trigger, or when things happen, to see, well, where does that come from? And I tell you, it starts with how we grew up, how we attach to our primary caregivers. And when you start to understand as an adult, oh, okay, now I understand why that's a trigger for me, or
mm,
why that stirs me up, or
mm.
why I have trouble talking with such and such person. It just, it shines a light on, like, okay, now what I can do. Because regardless, honestly, of how we were raised and how we attached with our caregivers, once we understand who we are today and what those patterns were, we can change it. We can open, we can grow, we can develop secure attachments. It's all within our power.
Yes. It's all within our power. That's very encouraging. You can do it. Yes. You could change your life. You could
Yep.
determine the path you want to go on.
Yep.
Yeah.
And it can be hard work. I get that. I mean, I have had my share of, having two experiences of facing death, and I've lost several family members, and things can be real hard. Life can be hard. Life can be messy. And can you stay open? Can you stay like, okay, how can I keep choosing to live and open my heart?
Mm. Well, how do you stay consistent on this journey though? Like it could be very difficult and very tough, like you've also said. How do you stay consistent regardless of how tough it could be?
And I'm sorry, could you repeat that one more time?
Yes, sorry. I said, how do you stay consistent, on this journey, regardless of how difficult it could be?
Hmm. Well, that's the magical question. I am human just like everyone else. So
Mm,
I think when you practice and you have practice of have a sense of what it's like to have some moments of presence, when you have a sense of knowing what that can feel like, to have some ease and flow, you even have more of an understanding when you're not in that state. So trust me, just like everyone else, and especially with launching my book, I mean, I'll have moments where all of a sudden my mind goes way to the future, like what if and how and and I think, well, isn't that interesting? I just wrote a book on this. And then I'm watching my mind go way over here.
mm,
But again, awareness, it's catching it and like, okay, what do I need to do right now? I need to just sit and do some breathing. Maybe I feel triggered, unrest, whatever. Just can I be with it in the moment? Can I breathe into it? Can I feel into and identify what's happening and breathe into it, to move through it, to walk through it? And a daily choice. I mean, it's a daily choice. It's like really deciding. I mean, for me, I have a really steeped I just have done this for so many years. Practice. I wake up in the morning. I have some moments of gratitude before I even get out of bed. I just think, thank you, God, I'm alive.
Mm,
I'm here. I have family and friends, and I have a home I'm living in. And I just feel the gratitude. I think it, and then I feel it. And I feel this vibration in my body, and I have some moments of prayer, and it sets the tone for my day. And then during the day, I have moments of presence. I talk to God actually all day long. And then at
mm,
night, prayer, and I move my body. I'm mindful of exercise, nutrition. But again, these are all like, okay. And I also really have fine tuned how to work with energy. I'm empathic, I'm intuitive, I'm a mystic, and I get a lot.
mm.
And I don't need to take in all the energy through the day. So I'm very mindful of how I work with energy just to keep my grounding and my balance. But again, these are just mindful choices of how I find life to be life giving. I want to keep leaning into it being life giving. And this is what I'm choosing. And that's my focus with my book. What are you choosing every day? How are you finding more aliveness and openness in your life? What does it look like? I'm inviting you to think about it.
Yes, yes. Everything you just described right now, is well documented in your book, like you said already, and this is going to enable us to live a fully engaged life. Your book provides that roadmap that helps us towards that, and I've gotten that from this conversation already. Like being spiritual, being conscious of your, of your health, of the energy around you. Taking all of that in, being intuitive also, and also taking care of your emotions, going for therapy if you have to, rewiring your brain if you have to. Everything helps us, to go on that path of, living a fully engaged life. I love that. Thank you so much for sharing this. I really
Oh,
appreciate this.
absolutely. This is a topic I've been voraciously studying since a teenager. I mean,
Mm,
after I got through and thankful to God I got through that treatment. As a teenager, I started reading books. Why am I alive? What does it mean to be alive? I mean, these are
mm,
the books I started reading as a 14, 15, 16-year-old, and I've been reading thousands since.
wow.
I think I have so much yet to learn, and isn't it exciting?
It is, and I'm super blessed to have had this conversation with you, because right now my life has become better, and I'm sure everyone who has listened to the episode has picked one or two things or several practices to ensure that they are also able to, live every day awakened, and also to their full capacity, to their full engagement, basically. So, before I let you go, if there's something, a piece of advice or something you would love to share with someone out there who is striving to live fully engaged life, to live a life of purpose, what would that advice be?
I'd like to share an exercise that I've done on and off for 20 years, just to go to that's helpful to me when life is full and complicated and a lot going on. Just even tuning in at the end of the day, what today was life giving? What gave me life? A sense of life and peace and ease, joy. And what, two questions. So, what's life giving? The other is, what really depleted me? What took life away?
Mm,
And it's fascinating. I can promise you, if you ask those two questions at the end of the day, every day for a week or two, you're going to start to see patterns. And I think we're tuned in with this universal energy that's guiding us. We're not alone, but we have to come into this stillness, our essence, to see, feel, sense, hear that guidance.
mm,
And every one of us have it. If it's a sense of hearing, with the words clairvoyance, clairaudience, clairsentient, we all have it. But what is it for you? But it has to come into that stillness to listen, to reflect, to just be. And I would just invite you to have some moments today. Just try having some moments of stillness. Maybe start with reflecting on these two questions, and then focus on just your breath coming into the moment, and just be here now, breathing, feeling into your heart, and opening into what is in just this moment right now, this magical moment.
Just be here right now. Yes. Thank you so much, Katrin. I really appreciate this. I don't want us to end this episode, but we have to wrap up so that I can go and be in the moment and practice some of these things immediately right now. Thank you so much. I really appreciate this. For anyone out there who would like to, for example, work with you, maybe connect with you in one way or the other, what's the best way to reach out to you?
You could send me, go to my website. My website is everydayawakening.com. My book title, I can be reached at Katrin at everydayawakening.com. Send a message. I have social media. I'm on my Facebook page is called actually Learning to Live. Instagram, it's Catherine Duncan, MABCC. I'm now on TikTok. This is a new thing, and trying that as Catherine Duncan. So love to hear from anyone, and just grateful to meet you. You're delightful. Thank you so much for having me on today.
Thank you so much, Katrin, for being on this platform today. I really appreciate you. I'm going to place the link to your website again in the show notes of this episode. Every information about your social media handles are also on your website. So I encourage everyone to visit your website. Go to the contact page or just scroll down to the bottom of the page of the website. You'll find all the Facebook, Instagram, and every social media handle also there. Thank you so much, Katrin. This has been a blessing, a big privilege to have spoken with you and to have learned
Thank
so much
you.
from you.
Blessings.
Thank you.